Hello, hello. Good evening, Randolph, and good evening to our listeners and viewers. I hope that they're hearing me clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Confirm that they're hearing us
Yes,
loud
yes.
and clear.
We're hearing you clearly.
Awesome, awesome.
All right.
Good to be alive in the 592 tonight.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
Lots happening around Guyana.
There's so much happening around Guyana.
So many
things happening, you know.
Yeah.
So a lot to talk about too.
Yeah. And you know, as you said that, where will we be going this evening with the discussion? Where will we be going?
There's so much to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
We have elections coming up. We have just a number of issues happening in terms of governance in the country. We're seeing the scandal with the Guyana police force.
Yes.
It's worsening daily, and you know it's a distressing thing. I think it really requires a level of fortitude to live in Guyana.
Yeah.
And to try to thrive and to grow and to raise your family here. It really is a daunting task because our institutions simply are not working.
Yeah.
Our institutions are not working. They're not serving the people of Guyana. They're not working in the best interests of Guyanese. From the parliament to the police to the public service ministry. It's a distressing state of affairs.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, we had the most recent. It's so many scandals with the Guyana police force. So the most recent, we saw one of their senior superintendent on that list of persons who are being sanctioned in connection with drug trafficking.
With drug trafficking.
Yeah.
With drug trafficking.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've called for continuously is reform of the police. The studies are myriad. The British have done studies, the US have done studies. So when I call out Irfan Ali for saying that they have to study the matter some more as just a cover for them embracing and hiding the incompetence, it's a fact that they are hiding the incompetence of the police.
Yeah.
I cannot understand how it is a good thing for a government that has good intentions to shelter and harbor a corrupt police force. Who benefits from that? Certainly not the people of Guyana. And so if the government says that it's interested in what is good for the people of Guyana, you would think that they would put every effort into having a good police force.
Yeah.
Instead, we see them sheltering criminals. We see them enabling bad behavior. And we see them covering up crimes within the committed within and by police. And the fact that it took the international community to sanction Mr. Saw, the Inspector Saw.
Yeah.
It took the international community to sanction him.
Yeah.
Or else it is apparent to everyone looking that this would not have seen the light of day.
Yeah.
So there's no goodwill on the part of this PPP administration in terms of delivering police reform and in terms of ensuring that Guyanese feel safe. It's like where do the criminals end and the police begin?
Yeah.
You know, people are wondering.
Yeah. Have you ever in your lifetime as a Guyanese seen this level of distrust for the Guyana police force?
I have not.
It is unprecedented.
You know, when I was a little girl growing up, policemen were respected.
Mm-hmm.
They were to be looked up to. They commanded a level of response from the village that I grew up in, etc.
Mm-hmm.
That is no longer existent today. You see civilians beating up the police in broad daylight.
Yeah.
And that is symptomatic of the fact that because the trust and confidence in the police force is eroded, the good men and women in the police force who actually want to do their work are being made an impasse.
Yeah.
So that is what you're seeing, just a complete lack of law and order, complete breakdown.
Yeah, yes, it's has become a real issue in our society, the lack, and I think that goes hand in hand. This idea of trustworthiness, respect. It's almost as if the police are in an adversarial encounter with the public at all times.
Absolutely. Then we had a female officer alleging that she was raped by a male officer within the precincts of the police station.
Yeah.
So if our women are not safe within the precincts of the police station, where exactly are we safe?
Yeah.
Where are we safe? One would think that the police station is someplace that you would run to for refuge. But when you have allegations of rape by one police officer against another female officer, then it's cause for concern.
Yeah, the politicization of the Guyana police force. One of the first scandals that rocked this PPP, the recent iteration of the PPP government, the Ali-led administration, was the accusation that the president called the Police Service Commission people to say, what happened to my boys? Why?
Well, obviously his boys are now wrecking and ruining the police force.
Yeah. Because
they got rid of Paul Slow as the head of the Police Service Commission, and they were able to have their way. And I want the people of Guyana to understand that this is the result of the PPP having their way with the police force. This is the result of Irfan Ali having his boys put in place. And again, they're bringing disrepute and disrespect to the well-meaning men and women in the police force. Can you imagine drugs go missing from the confines of the police storeroom? Cocaine turned into flour, like Jesus turned water into wine. Somebody turned cocaine into flour in the Guyana police force. And there is where we are. And this is what makes us, I think, the laughing stock of other countries, and opens the door to us being to us being disrespected.
Yeah. And like you said, we've seen the degradation, the decline since then. So after, this is one of the first things that you did as president, is to call and say, man, one with my boys.
Your boys, yeah.
Right? And ever since, we've seen the decline and the growing disrespect for the Guyana police force, the distrust for it, and how, it is strange to me, because I'm thinking, as an administration, you want the most professional police force. You want men and women that will make you proud.
Yeah, a well-intentioned government would want a professional police force. The fact that the PPPC does not want, or they are not actively cultivating a professional police force, means that they don't want a professional police force, means that they have no good intentions for Guyana, because a professional police force will hold even the government accountable where needs be, without fear or favor. So I think from that, it's often not what they say, but look at what they do, because Irfan Ali would stand and give the most glowing speeches, but look at what he does. Hicken is confirmed, even though he's a retiree, even though there are more qualified men and women in the police force that could be promoted. But he will stand and he will give speeches about the police force and strengthening and studying, etc. But in all of this, Randy, I will say this, that the Guyanese people are not fooled. The Guyanese people are not fooled. Our people are seeing, the people of Guyana, they're seeing exactly how the cookie is crumbling here. The rich are getting richer, the poor they're getting poorer, law and order is completely eroded, and the PPP government and their cronies are awash with money. Whilst the ordinary Guyanese is still struggling to make ends meet. Life is hard out there for the ordinary Guyanese man and woman, And as a result, children. It is hard. It is exceedingly hard. And you walk around Georgetown and you see everywhere people are just tense and strained and anxious, which is why I sometimes get very annoyed, Randy, that we as political leaders seem unable to get it together, because there's a lot at stake and people are depending on us to give effective representation to them, because their literal lives are at stake here. And you have a government that does not care, and they've shown that they don't care.
Yeah, that is so true. And I agree with you with this idea of people being tense, and it's as if, you know, when they look at everything that is happening, and this is my assessment of it, as an average Guyanese who's working a 9 to 5, probably got 2 jobs, trying to put food on the table, and then you look at people getting contract and doing shabby work, they still getting their money. They got people got almost a $1 billion contract and tell you, oh, pile drive in there, you know, friends and family getting contract. There are people who are living fat off of this government. The friends and the families and the favorite. And when you look at that, and then you look at all the other things that this government is trying to cover up, how are Guyanese supposed to deal with that? How are they supposed to react? You know,
they're supposed to get up and vote the PPP out of office come September 1. And we as political leaders have the obligation to give them something to vote for.
Yeah.
We have to motivate our people to get up, Guyanese people to get up and to vote these people out of office. This is the only way this nonsense is going to stop. You have a man that collected how much? 800 million Guyana dollars for a pump station.
Yes, that's what I was talking about.
800 million Guyana dollars for Guyanese. $800 million that could have gone into making the lives of Guyanese better. And this is somebody that has the audacity to be speaking to Guyanese people and telling them what to do and what not to do.
Yes.
How about you go do what you were contracted to do with the people of Guyana's money?
Yeah.
It is like you robbing me and then coming to tell me, never mind, look over there, focus on that. All the while you are robbing me, robbing the Guyanese people. And people have got to become outraged about this type of nonsense. $800 million?
Yeah.
That's not chump change. That is money that could make a positive impact on the lives of Guyanese. And there is no accountability. There is no transparency whatsoever for our money. Can you imagine? The government of Guyana is using the money of the people of Guyana to abuse, to mistreat, to starve, and to gaslight the people of Guyana. Imagine that. You are using my money to abuse and gaslight me as a citizen.
Yeah.
Make that make sense?
Yeah.
And the Guyanese people must not accept that. We have to be outraged about it.
Yeah.
Because this is not Jack Dio or Irfan's money come out of their pocket so they could do with it what they want. This is our money.
Yeah. And when you don't need to look far. That's my take from this. You don't need to look far for this corruption and this wanton waste. You look at gold, for example, and it's worth bringing up again because to this day, nobody can tell us, nobody has come forward to say where did this money go that were supposedly paid for these hundreds of scholarships. Because if the university said, we don't know about it, where did the money go, right? Just like we can ask, where did the money go that Critic get contract for? What are you doing with the money? Because nothing is happening there. Where is the gold money? You know, and it is almost an affront to our intelligence as Guyanese to, okay, we sever ties with this place, but okay, some money had to be paid because the children the students started to go to school.
Absolutely. Every time a mother is sitting down in her kitchen and wondering what she's going to feed her children, she must remember that the PPP government squandered billions of dollars that could have been going to improve the life of her child or children. They've squandered it, and she ought to be angry and do something about it. every time a father has to sit down and think about how am I going to parse this money for transportation for the children. This one need cough syrup. This one got fever. How am I going to do that? He must get angry at the fact that billions of Guyanese dollars are being wasted.
Yeah, definitely. And that waste, you see it every single day. Before I came here, I was looking at Sherrod, somewhere on the East Bank. He was looking at a road that was built a year ago, for example, and the road is done. You know, it's so bad. You can't believe that road was built a year ago. So these are the things that we're dealing with, and I agree with you. Guyanese have to get upset about this. They have to, you know, react at the ballot box, and that is your only power. You know, as we talk about that, we as Guyanese like to make noise about things, but we don't want to engage in the solutions. And it's a lot of times I find that, you know, the people that make the most noise, they actually engage in the fewest amount of action. But the one thing that you can do as a Guyanese, the one thing that you can do, the one time in every 5 years, you have a choice to say, hey, I want competent people to lead me. I want people who have a vision, people who are not going to squander the money of this country. I want those persons to be in office. And I think this in next, you know, as we know elections are coming, and so you have to start thinking about that if you're a citizen.
Absolutely. And the PPPC administration is doing everything in its power.
Yeah.
To frustrate the vote of the ordinary Guyanese. But they can only do it if people do not come out to vote. They can only do it if the numbers are close. If you come out and you vote overwhelmingly against the PPP, then they will get it right.
Yeah.
This country will be on a better path.
Definitely.
You know, one of the things that is galling for me is to see the way they are manipulating GCOM.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't need to manipulate GCOM if your policies were as such that you're confident that you will have the vote of the people.
Yeah.
You would want free and fair elections. You would want biometrics at the place of poll. You would want this. And I'll never forget that there's a gentleman that serves in a very senior capacity here in terms of security said to me, oh, where you stand depends on where you sit. Or some foolishness like that. And I'm like, this is exactly why Guyana is in this problem, because if biometrics was being called for by Barry Jagdeo when he was in opposition, it certainly is still good now. And it's that kind of archaic thinking that has us stuck in this cycle where we are awash as a country with money, but Guyanese, the average Guyanese is still poor. We have to reject that. Something is radically wrong, and we have to wake up and understand that something is radically wrong. The old politics is failing us.
Yeah.
And in my budget speech this year, I asked, what do we want? Do we simply want our chance, or do we want change? And it's a question that Guyanese got to grapple with seriously. It's a question that we have to grapple with very seriously, you know?
Yeah. And I'm happy that you brought up GCOM. Lots of conversation around the elections, GCOM's preparedness, and a number of other issues in the news about GCOM. They have their share of scandals and drama over there. From the legal officer to, you know, all the other decisions being made.
To Anil Nandlal.
We're going to come to that. Yeah.
Be giving legal advice.
Yeah. And I want us to unbox this in a very simple way for the people listening to us this evening and who may be looking at us on Facebook. Let's deal with that particular issue first. Now, the makeup of the Guyana Elections Commissions, we have 3 commissioners from the PPP, 3, elected by and 3 from the originally PNC, now, you know. And then you have a commissioner, who the president and
who is the foremost among the first among equals.
Right. And that person was had to be agreed to by the president and the opposition leader.
Right.
No. And so she sits in that position, the chairman, and she has the deciding vote on any issue.
Right.
Now, if there's a legal issue that comes up, and they have to have an opinion, a legal opinion on it, that legal opinion, as of now, goes to the Attorney General.
But why?
Well,
Why it goes there? People must understand it goes there because the legal officer that they had there gave an opinion that the CEO did not like. And so his contract was either not renewed or was terminated, one out of the two.
So now you have the government, the government highest legal officer. He is the person who is going to say whether or not
he is the person that is going to be asked to give impartial advice
on GCOM
elections.
In elections matters.
Yeah.
It is mind blowing.
This is the same man that Anil name calling up on the East Bank there. That was accused of having ID cards and doling them out. The same person. So I want us to understand that the PPPC government is playing in our faces. They're playing in our faces. They're taking us for granted. They're thinking that they will do what they want and we can and will not do anything about it. Basically, that is their attitude. Think about it. That is their attitude. We will do what we want. We will use our one-seat majority and we will impose on the people of Guyana what we want. Not what they want. Not what might have come out in a debate that is the best thing for them. Is what we want. Is what Jack Dio and Ali and Nanlal wake up in the morning and decide that they want for the people of Guyana. That is the yoke we are living under. And it has to change.
Yeah, definitely. In what world can the government Attorney General be the person you turn to for advice on election matters when he has a stake in this election? How?
His job depends on his government winning the election. So that is what I'm saying. They're playing in our faces, and I think we have to reject them out of hand. It is untenable now. The situation is untenable, and Guyanese are faced with a choice. You cower and you bow your head and you go out and you eke out a living, or you stand up and say, hey, it's my country, man. Enough is enough. We have money like we've never seen before. Why am I suffering? Why I can't feed my children? Why don't I have safe public transport for my child? Why can't I get 3 square meals a day? Why can't I have a balanced diet of fruit, meat, etc.? Why do I have to choose between buying medicine and buying ration? Why? When there are less than 1 million of us in this country and so much money like we've never seen before. Something is wrong. It is as if there are 2 Guyanas in this one Guyana. One where people could go to bars at night and drink tabs of close to $3 and $4 million because they're just awash with money, and then another one where you can't send your children to school. Something is wrong. Something is wrong.
Yeah, definitely. And as we so many things are wrong. Something alone. So many things are wrong. Let's not come off of GCOM because there are a number of other issues that we need to kind of unbox here. This claims and objection period, I know last parliamentary sitting you brought this up about the short time and the disadvantageous position it will put those smaller parties in. I want you to explain to the people of Guyana what is really happening with this claims and objection period and how you believe it will affect parties moving forward.
Well, on my way here, I heard Commissioner Vincent Alexander expressing his utter disgust at just the entire thing. So this is something that the GCOM commissioners are identifying as an issue, because normally claims and objections are the period is 21 days, Right now, it's 3 days, effectively, is what I heard Commissioner Alexander saying on that program. And I would strongly recommend that Guyanese go over to Gordon Mosley's page, News Source, and look at that interview sources that Svetlana Marshall did with the Commissioner Vincent Alexander, and you'll understand in a very detailed manner just how much, to the degree to which the GCOM is going to frustrate and disenfranchise Guyanese from voting. Can you imagine that you are only going to get 3 days to make sure that your claim is successful, that the claim that you make that say, okay, I should be on the list and I'm not, you got 3 days to make sure that that is done. If you are saying, I live at Lot 10 Grove, and you got 30 people registered at Lot 10 Grove, and I am living there by myself, I have 2 days within which to go to GCOM, make the objection, have that objection heard and resolved, or else those people who are at 10 Grove are turning up in the division that day to vote. And this is because of the law that Anil Nandlal brought to the National Assembly, the same Anil Nandlal that is now giving them legal advice. Yeah. The law that he brought to the National Assembly, and they crammed down the throats of the people of Guyana by a 1-seat majority.
It's like you said, seems as if they're playing in our faces, because like with the Attorney General being the legal advisor for the GCOM, this seems as if they know that this is not possible, right? But we are going to push it through anyway, because this is, something that the opposition can't do anything about because of the minority in Parliament. So it seems as if they just want to say, look this.
And guess why? Because they have been able to trap all and sundry into the narrative that once a vote is there, doesn't matter how it got there, doesn't matter if it was cast by a person that ought not to have been able to cast it in the first place. Once it is there, it must be counted. And so they've trapped even the international community into this narrative of not worrying with how a vote gets into a box, but the fact that it is there and it will be counted, and that is what they tout as democracy. That is the devilish deed that they have done. And so, unless Guyanese stand up and in overwhelming numbers vote this government out, the next 5 years will be more of the same corruption, more of the same just breakdown of law and order, just the same corruption in the education sector, in the health sector, the squandering of our resources. Roads and bridges are good. The New Harbor Bridge, etc., good that it's being built. But what is this government doing to improve the quality of life of the ordinary Guyanese? Guyanese are still suffering, so something has to be wrong. And what they're doing wrong is that they do not have a plan to empower Guyanese. That is the problem. Their plan is to create a handout economy. So in a handout economy, it is not what I generate, etc. It is what you wake up and feel like giving me. And so you make me dependent on you, on your mood, on how you feel. Guyanese citizens must genuinely be empowered. You have small contractors who are doing small contracts now. They must be empowered to get bigger contracts. They must be empowered. What is it? Yes, you're getting a drain cleaning contract. Yes, but how are we empowering you to get even more, instead of me having to sacrifice my integrity to come to say, okay, yes, I'm putting on a red t-shirt so that I can get a road contract. Meanwhile, you are getting the crumbs at the bottom here, and at the top, at the top, they're getting loaves and loaves of bread, but they're counting on the fact that you are going to be so consumed with the crumbs that you're getting down here that you don't have time to look and to realize that more is possible for you, more is possible for your family. And that is the dilemma that we have. So we've got to find the way to have our people make a living, have our people make money, but it must be done in a way where they are not dependent upon the mood of the government, that they're able to do it because they're able to participate in the system, in the sectors. They're able to participate in the economy actively, right? So, there's just so much frustration all around, Randy.
Yeah. Let's wrap up on GCOM with this question. The electoral reform and ROPA aside, do you believe that it is time to reconstruct or reform GCOM itself?
Has to be. It has to be. And it is something that we have been calling for a very, very long time. And I think it should have been done even whilst we were in office as the APNU AFC. You see, what we have to be serious about is making the hard changes that are needed to put Guyanese and Guyana on the right path.
Let me say this, and I'm happy that you said it should have been done when the APNU AFC was in power. Because if we look at the composition of GCOM, it only accounts for two major parties. And I think when it was created and envisioned back then, these were the two dominant parties who had say at the table. So you have representatives from PPP, representatives from the PNC. But now the dynamics and the landscape has changed politically. And I believe that, for example, the AFC should have a representative.
Right, exactly. Well, because those are the main parties.
Right.
But the problem that you have there, though, it is still politicized.
Well, that is true.
In Jamaica, for example, they have an electoral commission that is run by technocrats.
So a rethink of the entire construction of it.
The entire construct.
Yeah.
Or else Guyanese are going to continue to be subject to this foolishness every 5 years.
Leave the politicians, let them do politicking.
You do politics and technically administer an election.
Yeah.
Right? You go out and you win the people based on the soundness of your policy, the attractiveness of your arguments, etc., instead of manipulating the system in this manner.
And you are so correct, because you allow political representatives to have a seat on the commission that is going to run the election, and they will try their level best to manipulate it in their party's favor. And so I agree with you 100%. It needs to be reconstructed,
reconfigured. That recommendation has been made time and again. So this is not anything new or novel. It is a question of the will to do it.
Yeah.
This has been made time and again. Jamaica comes down here ever so often and gives us technical assistance in terms of GCOM. They have a very good system. They're our sister CARICOM country. We can adopt, and do the needful and create that.
Yeah.
We have to get our country out from under this stranglehold. People must be able to go, vote, get election results within hours, because how many of us are in this country really?
A small town.
We are a medium-sized town in the U.S., for example. That's the size of our entire population. And we can't get it right. I don't accept that. I don't accept that.
Yeah, definitely. We have to get it right.
I noticed on the live video here, I noticed there is if I could bring it back up, I'm not sure why I'm not getting it. I noticed that there is a letter going around from an association of medical officers.
Yeah.
It has gone. I can't see it anymore. If that person is still with us.
But it says June 8th, which is today.
Yes. Are you seeing it?
Yeah, I'm seeing it here. Medical doctors over on-call policy. But if that is correct, then effective the 9th. Okay.
There is some concern there being raised, and the doctors raising it have withheld their names for fear of victimization.
Oh yeah, it's a very long.
It's an extremely
message.
long message.
Yeah.
But I gather that they're concerned about some breaches in the labor law. I was just glancing at it as I was speaking.
Yeah.
They're concerned with some breaches in the labor law as it relates to this new on-call policy.
Yeah,
and then that's the other thing. The pay for our doctors, atrocious.
Yeah.
Atrocious. It's no wonder people are fleeing to other jurisdictions.
Yeah.
Right? Imagine nurses are leaving here to go to Dubai.
And England.
And the UK.
Yeah.
The UK nurses are going to Dubai. Our nurses are going to England. But Guyana, on a per capita basis, has more oil, etc., on a per capita basis than these countries. And we have a government that is mamagaying and starving our people of proper salaries at the end of the month. Something is wrong.
Yeah, it is unbelievable. Our civil servants, you wonder sometimes how they survive, those salaries. Recently, when the teachers were on the road protesting, you saw the disregard, so to speak, as if, how dare you come out and ask for better salaries, and how dare you, and I know you stood with the teachers when they were out there, the nurses, those doctors, our men in uniform. I think at some point in time we have to take stock and say, okay, if we are getting all of these monies, how is it that we are going to make these very, very important? These people hold the country together. The teachers, the doctors, the nurses, they hold those public servants.
They keep the engine of the public service going. They're literally the engine that turns the wheel of this country, and we treat them with such scant regard.
Yeah,
we treat them with such scant regard, and it is a vicious cycle that we have been caught in, and that we have to break. We have to break it.
Yeah, there must be a way to ensure that 800 something thousand people don't.
My goodness, 800 and something thousand people. You know how much money Guyana is earning per day from oil?
Yeah.
Millions of US dollars per day.
Yeah. And so pretty soon, in a few years, we'll be taking out 1.2 million barrels a day. Yeah, pretty soon,
And so we have to build the infrastructure now, Randy. We have to build the infrastructure now that will see Guyanese being able to benefit from that. And when I say benefit from it in a dignified manner. Not have to go and line up and old people fainting in the hot sun to collect $500 US.
You see, when you say build the infrastructure now,
I'm talking about.
Jagdeo would say we're building infrastructure, they're building roads.
I'm not talking about roads, I'm talking about the financial and economic infrastructure, the systems that will facilitate Guyanese benefiting from their oil wealth. That will see the Guyanese business, let me tell you, the Guyanese business community, the indigenous Guyanese business community. When I say indigenous, I don't mean like our indigenous peoples, but our Guyanese native businessmen are suffering, particularly those who are not in the friends, family and favorite category. They are suffering. They're being forced to sell out to Asians who are now coming in because they are suffering. They cannot get a piece of the pie. These are businessmen that have been here, that have kept this country going, that have been, a lot of them, very faithful supporters of the PPP and can't get nothing.
That's an interesting perspective. So the question there is, what do you do you have a country that is attractive to foreign investors at the moment. You have the oil money flowing, and so people want a piece of that. And so companies will come and set up shop. You have, as you said, the native or indigenous businesses who can't keep up with that. You might have a little 2-story thing, and somebody come put a 10 stories next to you, and they're doing the same business like you, and so you're kind of pushed out. How do we protect
You have
those
to protect the advantage for your people, and their models all around the world. This is nothing new or strange. This is nothing new or strange. So this government's behaving like, oh, well, we can't do nothing. People just run up in this country and do what they want is nonsense.
Yeah.
It is absolute nonsense. We have to be unapologetic about putting Guyanese first. We have to be, something that galls me is when I go around this country and I see people who have, for example, built homes with blood, sweat, and tears, and they've settled into a community, and a man decides that he could go and rear pigs next to them and make them uncomfortable in all that they have worked for their adult life. Because why? There's no zoning, so anybody could do anything anywhere. And particularly if you're a friend of the government, you could rear pig, stink up the entire neighborhood, and nobody can do anything about it. The system is broken.
Yeah. On a micro level, and not necessarily so micro, we're talking about foreign businesses and foreigners coming in. Rightly so, there's a space for foreign investment.
There's a space for foreign investment.
But when you look, for example, at the mom and pop, the corner shop,
right,
they're almost non-existent because of the springing up of Chinese supermarkets.
And that is as a direct result of the lack of regulation. We can indicate that within a certain amount of square miles, there can be no more than X or Y numbers. Not in one strip, you got 10, 15 stores edging out the local stores. The Chinese are not going to be upset with us because we regulate how many of these types of operations could be within a particular community. That is a function of the local government. That ought to be in the local government laws. And that is how you protect and promote the interests of your people, whilst as well allowing for trade and for other merchants to come in and to set up. But if you got 10 stores in one block.
Yeah, there's no space for a
wrong.
A little single mom to put up a shop and make some money.
You are creating a nation of consumers, and that is a problem.
Yeah.
That is a problem. So there's so much to be done, which is why I wonder how this government has time to waste on victimizing people and on censoring people and on censuring people. And to be reporting people like Melly Mel Facebook page and trying to shut us up and take away free speech. I do not understand how they have the time for that. You can't have the time for that and build this country. It's one or the other. And it's obvious to me that they've decided that they will go the path of enriching themselves and censuring people who speak about it.
8:06. We're going to go a little later. Those persons who are now joining us, we started a little late, so we're going to reclaim our time.
Reclaim my time, Mr. Speaker.
Going to reclaim our time just a little bit. We want to. I note that you're wearing a Justice for
Adriana
T-shirt.
Yes.
Yeah, and I want us to kind of. Where are we with this? I know they had a second autopsy.
I think they're awaiting as far as I know, they're awaiting the report of that second autopsy. But I know the Guyanese have not forgotten. Guyanese might be quiet, but they haven't forgotten. I think Guyanese are still scarred from that whole experience, and they have not forgotten. And all of these things are on the ballot come September 1.
Yeah.
And this is why the PPPC government is fighting tooth and nail to try to rig the system.
Yeah.
And then people say, oh, why don't you go to court? The court that just said that Barjagdio calling Cathy Hughes a low life is a fair and reasonable statement.
Yeah.
People are losing faith even in our courts.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Definitely. Definitely. 807 here in 592. If you're now joining us, we are chatting with MP Amanza Walton-Desir and moving forward. Our radio program coming to you live on 975, and of course we are streaming on Facebook on the Mod 97.5 page and MP Amanza's page. We're on Chief Whip Christopher Jones' page as well. You head over there. All right, so we want to wrap up with elections. I know we spoke about the GCOM, but we want to wrap up with elections.
There is one other point that is concerning. There's so many, but one of the things that stands out to me is the fact that GCOM is actively intending to disenfranchise polling day staff.
And explain how this is.
Because I may be working at a polling, I'm going to use Leeds Village.
Mm-hmm.
I may be working at Leeds Primary School on polling day, but I live in, for example, Kildonan. So my name is on the list
At Kildonan. Yeah.
What should happen in any civilized society is that I should be given a letter of employment as a polling day staff that would allow me to vote at Leeds Primary School, where I am working on polling day.
Mm-hmm.
GCOM is refusing to do that. So it means that I am going to work at Leeds, but I have to leave
that polling
my
station.
Post. So if I'm a scrutineer, if I'm something like that, I am leaving boxes unattended, you know, to the mercy of the PPP and their machinery to go to cast my vote. So I, as a citizen, am being placed in a position where I have to decide to not vote and
so I can
lose my franchise. This right that we fought for and had to march for, to forfeit my franchise, to stay in my post so that I can look to make sure that skullduggery doesn't happen. Now, what had happened some years ago is that the PPP-led GCOM, what did they do? They issued letters of employment to staff and poll day workers working in their strongholds. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or their people working in particular areas. So their people did not have to leave to go vote. So if they know that they have 5 polling day workers or whatever in this one location, they gave 5 letters of employment to them. The people from the opposition did not get. And that is recorded history in GCOM.
So the polling workers are left in a catch-22.
So they are forfeiting. It is either I forfeit my franchise or I
leave the box unattended. To go vote and come back.
To go exercise my franchise. GCOM is, and you know what is so galling? Is that Claudette Singh would actually sit in that seat and implement such a measure, whether by commission or omission, implement such a measure to disenfranchise Guyanese.
It's a sad state of affairs. And we're marching to Election Day, September 1st. There are a number of things that Guyanese have to get right. They have to know. We know that nomination day is the 14th of July. And, you know, of course, you're going to encourage persons to ensure that they check their names on the list.
Yes, you have to check your name to see if your names are on the list, and where your names are on the list. The danger is that some people who may need transfers, if they apply for a transfer, may not get it in time because of how abbreviated and short the claims and objections period is.
Yeah.
So all of this is just geared to frustrate Guyanese and to engineer the result that the PPP wants. And I keep saying this, and they can only get it if Guyanese do not show up and vote them out.